Once again, and welcome back to a new day right here on TV3. Now we're going to talk about laughter, humor, comedy, all types of comedy, all types of humor. Some people say, I have a good sense of humor, and that doesn't mean you're a comedian. Some people have funny faces. That doesn't mean that you're hilarious. So we're going to try and dissect this a little bit, and with doing that, we have two very special guests in the studio with us this morning. Really and truly, I shouldn't have to actually introduce you. But I will. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Kweku Sintimi's KSM. I mean, need I say more? Yeah, I should.
Well, that is a shy person.
Should I add something?
Very laid back.
You should do the handshake thing that he does in his shirt.
You see, what's the handshake that you do?
Oh, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
There you go. All right, beautiful. Next, I can teach you my own one. Bluetooth.
Oh.
Yeah, they touch Bluetooth.
Oh, you don't touch?
Yes, that's
I see.
it. Anyway, and also we've got Mr. David Oscar with us as well. David, how you doing this morning?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
Good.
He's looking very dashing with that cap.
Yeah, I'm liking the whole Idi Amin look this morning.
Oh, wow. That was the best thing you could compare me to. I'm more nicer, I prefer Mugabe or something.
Mugabe, okay, we can leave that there. But welcome to the show, guys. We are talking about comedy, and today we're actually talking about comedy as a business. Is funny making money?
Ooh, I like that.
You like that? Yeah, you like it?
I do.
Is funny making money? I mean, at this moment in time, we have comedy shows in Ghana where we're bringing people from abroad to try and make our Ghanaians laugh. So, let me hand it over to you. Where are we as comedy, as a business in Ghana right now?
Well, I believe KSM can answer this from his perspective.
Any of you.
And I can also answer from my perspective. So which one do you want?
David, go first. Go.
Okay. Comedy is making big money, I can assure you, the world over.
I'm in the wrong business then.
Except that from a Ghanaian perspective, it's not as yet.
Okay.
Because now, as you mentioned in your intro, you have situations where biggest comedy franchises in this country do shows, and all they do is just line up foreign comedians. No one is against that. It's a globalized village. You can do that.
Yeah.
But you need to do it in such a way that that same platform is fully exploited and maximized by the local talent.
Yes.
You understand? That has been my issue from day one.
All right.
And I believe that has made for me a lot of enemies and friends as well. Except that my friends, I don't know, think, are in the minority.
Okay.
So now, therefore, you have a situation whereby some of us, by our own special efforts and a sense of passion and a sense of reason and a certain sense in respect of projecting comedy, and not just comedy, but projecting the Ghanaian talent, makes us invest some of our own little monies into these things. I mean, I have traveled with the boys to Tamale on 2 occasions via Africa World Airlines, and that cost me money to do. We slept, fed them, 3 square meal.
Yeah.
Drove them around town, went to a few radio stations, did all the interviews we could gather, and then we did a great show. In fact, the very last one we had, KSM, was there, and he can testify to what he himself saw. So I think that we've gotten to that point where we need to be able to speak clearly and bluntly to all these people out there.
Yep.
That look, for me, half of the people criticizing us don't even patronize our works in the first place. We have this comedy bar thing running at Citrus Cafe every last Friday of the month at Osu. And these same people won't even come there and check us out.
Find out.
They will sit somewhere and still presume that, well, there are no great talents around here. This man here, I believe, has a very different opinion.
Okay, so let's not mince words. Most of the comedy shows in Ghana are being headlined by Nigerian acts. What's happening? Is it that you don't have comedians, or
no,
they're just not good enough?
That's false. How many comedy shows do you know around? Tell me. Mention them.
A couple.
Mention them.
Night of 1,000 Laughs comes readily to mind. Night of 1,014.
You're talking about the same series in one
That's funny, yeah, funny, yeah.
You're talking about the same, different series in the
well,
same franchise.
Well, apart from KSM shows, that's the only one that I know.
That's what I'm saying. So now, reconstruct the statement from earlier that most of the comedy shows. Do you know how many shows I have single-handedly put together?
Well, we haven't heard about
exactly the point.
Before
there are times I've approached media people. Look, come and let's do this. They come and write about it. They won't show up.
All right, David, one second. Let's just hear from KSM in regards to what the industry is like at the moment, and then we can continue with the...
Well, the industry of comedy, I would say, doesn't exist. There's a potential, though.
Okay.
But I couldn't confidently say that when we're talking about industry that is blooming or that is happening, I wouldn't name comedy as one of them.
Okay.
But there is a potential. I don't think that we have put enough. David here has been doing a lot single-handedly as an individual doing it. I don't think I've done as much or anything at all, but we haven't had any concerted effort as really targeting comedians, grooming them. There are many, many people who think they are funny and they are ready to go on stage and do comedy, and they are not.
Yeah.
I think people who can tell jokes in Ghana who mistakenly think that because of that they are comedians.
Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to target them. We need to really bring a crop of comedians, and they are there. Some of them need grooming, though.
That's the thing.
You can have the talent, but what is very important to understand is that the talent does not do enough. You need to have the skill.
That's right.
So we have many with talents who have a great sense of humor, but they have not paid enough attention to developing the skill of comedy. And that's what I find missing in Ghana.
So do you find things like the concert party, Waterproof, you know, where are they now? Where, you know, where did they go? We had Idikuku and all the rest. I mean, that was, for me, when I was growing up, that was comedy in Ghana. Now, I have to say, I witnessed one stand-up event. It was done privately, though, at a place. I wasn't impressed. I didn't find it funny. And I think this is where we might be misconstruing what is comedy and what is humorous, and what people would actually, or what we can actually market. You notice at first when they were showing the concert party, it was a lot of visual comedy. I mean, he looked very humorous. He was telling jokes. Didn't necessarily mean that he as an individual was funny. The fact that you can put on a costume and come and stand there and tell a joke, does that make you humorous? Or does appearance...
Does appearance matter?
Yes. Well, if I can quickly jump in here, there are different kinds of comedy, you know. We have slapstick comedy.
Right.
That's very physical, that's very...
boisterous and all.
Boisterous and all, you know. And Okada does slapstick, you know. He has a big watch on his hand. He's like this throughout the whole program, you know.
He's just funny on sight.
Very, very funny on sight.
Ghanaian
funny.
Flavor.
Exactly. So that's slapstick.
Yeah, that's slapstick. Typical slapstick.
Yeah. Typical slapstick.
You know, there are some comedians that you just set your eyes on them and you just immediately start laughing. Before they even say a word, they're just laughing.
Exactly.
And those type of comedians are usually very animated, you know. Because they are so boisterous and animated, sometimes you see them and their looks can just make you laugh. However, there is the other type, you know, and even within that type there are different styles, because some some employ improvisation, some employ, you know, paradoxical approaches, some employ impersonation, others employ mimicry. You know, those are the type of comedians that have, you know, different types and kinds of accents. So now, even within the genre that targets a very, very corporate audience, and when I say a corporate audience, I mean people who think from here and can understand communication and not just coming to stand there and becoming all boisterous. They want to be relaxed and listen to a particular type of content. You know, so within that particular fray of comedians that target this audience, this type of audience, there are different styles. You know,
David, I mean, for somebody who's in comedy, you seem to be very passionate and very serious about the actual industry itself. Where are we going? I mean, what kind of workshops are being put out there? Where can we go to actually experience Ghanaian comedy?
Well, let me use this opportunity to first and foremost advertise 3 platforms that are currently buzzing out there. The very first one is the Corporate Comedy Series, which I co-founded, that has done 4 successful road shows. Go on Facebook and Google, or Google, better still, Corporate Comedy Series, and check it out. You see every resource you need to see on that show. Second, there is a show that happens once every month, which is being driven by a gentleman called James Brown. Now, earlier this year, James called me. He works for KSM, actually. And if you were at his last show, Secrets of GH Girls, he was the one who hosted it. That, you know, tiny, long gentleman. You know, he drives what we call the comedy bar at the Citrus Cafe every last Friday of the month. You know, so make it a date. I mean, I saw a comment from Mr. Charles Buckner the other day on Facebook, you know, talking about the fact that he believes it's getting somewhere, because I did an article and, you know, he commented on it. So now, put the date up. Last Friday of every month. The same franchise is being driven in Kumasi by another gentleman called David Agla at the Golden Tulip. You know, it was launched on the same day Ghana beat Zambia. Okay, and then there is the Comedy Fiesta, which Foster drives. And if you remember Foster from the hit show Laugh a Minute, he played my son, the schoolboy. You know, he drives a franchise called comedy fiesta that targets the tertiary institutions. And thanks to him, we've successfully taught KNUST, Legon, Wisconsin, Central University, Valley View. We've been to University of Cape Coast, and still counting.
Okay, so I mean, those are the places that we can go and see. What about workshops? KSM, do you know of any? Are there any workshops or places that if somebody wants to go and actually try and get a little bit more insight into what comedy is or nurture their particular style of comedy, where can they go? Is there a place they can go? I
don't know of any workshops, honestly. I thought about having workshops. I haven't done it, but I don't know. David, are there any workshops?
Yeah, I mean, they are in the pipeline, and sometimes we don't only try to entertain the audience that come, we use that same opportunity to engage.
Right.
So, and it's because of cost implications, because now if I have to go get a venue, put it together, advertise, workshop, that's a lot of money. So I'm thinking about what are the short-term productive things we can do to still try and drive both. So we try to use the shows that we do, and I think I must have a few on my wall. Just go on my wall on Facebook and look at some of those videos. You see when I try to engage the audience and trying to educate them about what this whole endeavor is about. For me, it's not an industry as yet, like KSM said, but it needs a concerted effort. It doesn't start with me. What I've seen here is that when you are trying to project it in a positive light, there are some people out there who are trying to make you look bad, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, I've seen articles about this man online, some of which I couldn't believe my eyes. Who would even dare write this about KSM? As for me, they finished me crap. So it's not. People should begin to see this thing beyond David Oscar. It's something that if we well harness and develop, we can create some industry for. Even at this level, we still make bits and pieces of resources out of it, so it's not that bad.
Okay, KSM, so before we go on the screens to look at another clip, I'd like to ask, is comedy an inborn talent or it can be studied?
I studied comedy. Okay. Yeah. I'm saying that because I am not funny. I have a sense of humor, fine, but I'm not like the toast of the party. I have a sense of humor. I may have a talent in there, but I really did study comedy. There was a whole course I took, 2-year course under dramatic arts, and this was called Understanding the Comedic Structure. So I took time to study it, because comedy is a skill. There's a structure to it. David will tell you there's a way to set it up, there's a way to build it up, there's a way for the timing, there's a way for everything is studied. And if you are naturally funny, sometimes you do these things naturally. But when you study them and you are aware of the craft, you're able to apply the craft and do it even better. So I see myself as a typical example of somebody who studied it.
So there's a
so
funny
if you're
formula.
not born with it,
there's a funny formula. I like that.
Different forms of comedy. Some people would say that, no insult to you, funny face, or me, I love you. Some people say he's a fool, and that's not funny. Other people watch you, David, once you're on, Just for Laughs, and say that, what are you doing? You're not funny. People have seen DKB in a dress, also yourself in a dress, and they look at it and say, it's not funny. I mean, right now, there's with funny, obviously, there's some kind of, relativity to it. But how do you know when you've killed a crowd?
You would know. I mean, you would know.
Because the reason I say so, you can hear the laughter.
Yeah.
But how do you know they're laughing at the same thing you are, or the same thing that you set up?
That's a good one.
Oh, okay, that's a very good question. But obviously, I mean, you do it after some time, you know when you are wowing your audience or otherwise, And so, for me, the super objective of a comedian is to go on stage and make his audience laugh. If they are not laughing or they are not feeling your jive that day, you would know it.
So you know when there's a connection, when you're connected.
Of course. Yeah. And as KSM said, I mean, it's a whole art. People think that I have a lot of young people who message me on Facebook telling me they want to get into comedy. Yeah. And I keep referring them to James to put them on the comedy bar. And it's a whole art that, from my perspective, that's what it is. You study it, there's a structure, Of course, unlike KSM, I'm a bit funny, I'm funny. But I also have a way of crafting my materials before I present them, which explains why you probably not see me much around, because I also get to perform for a certain audience of a certain,
So what's your style of comedy, David?
Well, I consider myself a typical observational comedian.
Right.
I make observations about everything I see around. We are at the moment celebrating the grandest grandfather Metusalik Olele Kinsing. The man is so grown, but he doesn't want to stop playing football. And I also saw people commenting about, President Mohammed picture he took in front of CNN, you know, and people are advising that, well, we know he's proud of Ghana, we believe that, so he should do same for GTV.
KSM, let me ask you a question. What did you want to be when you grew up? I mean, when you were a kid, what did you say you wanted to be when you grew up? Was it a comedian? Was it a satirist?
No, the earliest I remember was a pilot, because I liked their uniforms. And then somewhere along the line, he changed to lawyer, and then a politician, and then they all evolved into comedy.
David, what about yourself?
Well, I'm more things, you know, slammed up in one jumbo size. I can do comedy. That's another advantage. I act. I'm sure you might have seen a few projects around.
TV3, Peep.
That's right. You know, and Tenant, which is also on DSTV, just by the by. At the same time, I'm an artistic content creator. You know, I haven't started churning out content as yet. We are in the planning stages, but obviously, expect a flood of content from.
What did you want to be when you were a kid?
You know what the funny thing? I remember one time we went for an excursion at the Timber Harbor. You know, at the time we were living in Koforidua, and when I saw the place, it was amazing. I mean, look at me, so amazing. So from then on, I started saying I would be a cargo and shipper. You know, and then I got to Pope John, and then my mates were influencing me. Some were saying they were going to be journalists and blah blah blah. And then I said to myself, okay, then I can be a marketer. And then, so that was how confused I was, to the point that even when I finished SS, I had to stay home for a whole year, wondering and thinking about what to go and do in the university. Because out there in Pope John, I did visual arts, and I was tired with it, really. And so I needed to take time to find out. Then I realized I could go into performing arts at Legon, thanks to the inspiration I got from Things We Do for Love, hit series that was showing at the time. You know, and Ajite Anand was one person who really inspired me from that end.
You really plug shows on the interview. Well done.
Yeah, I'm the smart guy, you know, I'm the smart talker.
So, KSM, what's the difference between comedy and satire?
Satire really doesn't have punchlines.
Okay.
You know, satire is making a commentary on anything, society, the big people, politics, whatever. There's no one main punchline, you know, but
maybe
it's
one-liners?
just... one-liners? Not even one-liners, it's narrative, basically. You know, and the humor comes from the picture you're painting, which is not exactly what it is. You're talking about very respectable, honest politicians who will never take bribe and things like that. And you are saying that, is he talking about politicians, you know, because we don't know them as such. So satire doesn't have punchlines. Satire is more of a narrative thing, you know, and that's more of what I do. You know, but it is a kind of comedy. It's only its name that is called satire.
When I was a kid, I wanted to do voiceovers for cartoons. I do voices. That's my form of comedy, if you want to call it that. And people in the studio even, I know that they probably won't say it now, but when I turn my back, they say, Charlie Benny, they were Jimmy. You know, he can make you laugh.
We don't think that about you.
And
I do a voice for us, man.
Okay.
Who do you do?
Well, which one? No.
Which one?
I know. Somebody said I wanted to do... You know, say money not be a problem. But I wanted to do voiceovers for cartoons because I like the different inflections and nationalities and stuff like that. You know, sometimes you can talk like an Indian, you see, and then
you actually kind of look like one.
You should come by the comedy bar.
And then other times you can talk like a South African. You know, sometimes when I'm in South Africa, you see, I run in the Serengeti with the wildebeest. You see,
you're good.
I mean, there's different forms. This is not about me. This is about the community. So, all right, where do you want to see Ghana comedy go to?
Well, I want to see it in the place where it has really blossomed into an industry, where young people, regardless of whether they have studied some aspect of it or otherwise, can all be groomed into a unit, and you know, also make a living out of it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I like to see the young people have a desire to learn, a passion really to get into, to understand the craft, and then deliver it.
Yeah,
I think they shouldn't rush. There are too many people rushing, thinking they're funny.
Right. Yeah,
and it's just put a whole bunch of people out there who are extremely not funny.
Yeah,
but who think they are. If they can take their time a little bit more, study a little bit more, and it's very, very easy these days. You know, you can go to Google, go on the internet and just Google. whatever techniques of stand-up comedy, and you get a whole lot of information at your feet.
So even just go and look at some of the veterans.
Yes.
Well, without being too crude, I mean, my inspirations were Richard Pryor, Red Fox, you know, those kind of people. So Eddie Murphy, still alive, still doing all he does. So I mean, if they look at some of these things, they can get the basics of it kind of.
That's right.
So are you guys mentoring some of these young up-and-coming comedians out there?
I'm not mentoring anybody. There are a few comedians who will come to me for advice. Funny faces with me like for 3-4 hours.
That is a kind of mentoring.
You know, that is kind of mentoring. David comes to my office, you know, we sit down, we talk, you know. I don't have a formal structure to mentor, but my doors are open, you know. But I really do believe that I should put more effort into recruiting young talent and mentoring them, you know. Because like I said, there's a raw talent out there, but it's very skillless.
This needs to be refined a little.
It needs to be refined, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so thanks very much for coming today, guys.